unfortunately, our education system gears us towards getting 95% or 94% in our exams rather than on, skills that we will actually use when we enter the workforce or when you are actually managing a company or working in a startup. And those are the softer skills that we talk about. And that's not emphasized on or taught. It's very marks oriented and outcome oriented rather than experience. And I think that that's something that we have to,
I agree with you 100%. I think conformity has been beaten down upon us by our predecessors for whom that worked. I think the one big takeaway everybody building for Gen Z can take is being conformist will not work anymore like it did for our parents and our grandparents. I think
it's almost guaranteed not to work.
So
reverse.
I think a really good advice is whatever your grandparents tell you, do the opposite.
Interestingly,
I guess.
I somewhat disagree. Like, to be honest with you, like if I was, like I would actually, like most people ask me, okay, you guys dropped out of college. Should we drop out of college? I say, no, don't drop out of college. Like, stay in college.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and see, I think like the problems that you're bringing up are absolutely 100% true. I think like the answer to that is just reform. Like there is a way to just build a better education system that adds value.
But I'll tell you, I agreed with you up until a few years ago. I'm going to get so much crap for saying this, but the quality of free resources, the access to books for free, the access to quality education for free is going up at such a pace that to not have the conformity that is required to be in a institution which is built on legacy like a college. I don't know if today the pros and cons kind of like weigh each other out. So there were always more pros 10 years ago.
So if you had, let's say, a nephew, right? Or let's say even like just like an average.
I have a nephew.
Okay, he has a nephew, but like let's take an average like.
His school doesn't have exams. I find it so weird.
That's awesome, right?
His school doesn't have exams till 10th standard. They teach them how to like grind spices and stuff like that.
What? That's amazing.
It's a Jiddu Krishnamurti school.
Wow.
Oh, I almost went to
Rishi Valley. Yeah.
I almost went there when I was 7.
Yeah, but this guy is incredible, okay? Like Jiddu never wrote a book, but he spoke a lot that people have kind of like collated and made books out of it.
Yeah.
But Jiddu believed that competition in itself, the fact that I want to compete with you to be better at something is defeat before the competition begins.
Yeah.
I need to find my peace inside of myself. And he believed the real winners of society are people like Buddha.
It's very anti-capitalist.
It is.
Very.
It is.
My dad was a big Jiddu fan.
But that's why he also said that he's not a preacher. That's why he didn't write books. Because he said, the minute I become a preacher, if I am a guru, then a guru needs to have following.
So if you're, okay, so we'll come back to that point, right? Like if you're someone in this age category that's getting out of high school or school, like your formal schooling education. Okay, let's say I'm an ambitious, smart, talented person from like a very humble background in like a tier 3, tier 4 city. I've just graduated from high school. What do I do? Like I have no clear goal other than building a good life for myself and my future family, etc.
I don't know about high school, but if you're
in college, you'd get
in college, you would figure out a skill set to learn.
But would you recommend that person to go to college?
I think undergrad is what he's talking about.
Like,
I think they would all voluntarily choose to go to college.
Would you tell that person, okay, you should go to college or not?
Even if I might think otherwise, I will get castrized for saying it here. So let me not.
How would you actually think?
I think innately people who seek knowledge only truly ever get knowledge. I don't think you can push someone into a position where you can beat a hammer down his head and, ingrain knowledge. I think school is important. I think interpersonal skills, learning how to work in a group, learning how to deal with people is extremely relevant. Forget education, forget college, forget all of that. Say Tara is a plumber, say Adit is a carpenter, I am a banker and Navya is something else. If we all had a kid in the society, if one of us had a kid, if either of them had a kid, all of us would spend time with the kid and he would look at each of us for the skills that he's interested in and learn from that. That way the kid is not ingrained with, mimetic beliefs of his parents. Why should my child want to do what I think is right for him to do? I think that room, that freedom, that democratic sense of picking what he wants will only be allowed, that inculcation will only happen in a society which is not conformist, which is not today, but in a very utopian scenario. Like if I had to paint it, I would paint a world like that.
Would you recommend that person to start a company or to go into a job? The average, like I'm talking about like tens of, if not hundreds of millions of people.
I think it doesn't matter. I think
Really?
I think starting a company, getting a job, the salary one gets, all of that is tier 2 to his own mind and the evolution of his mind and how he's able to evolve. I think one follows the other.
Yeah.
I feel like if this person is able to absorb all that his mind is truly capable of, I don't think anybody needs to worry about how much money he's making. And money is one lens of viewing what we think is successful. I think it's the lens of today, but
that's fair. Content, like fulfillment, right?
I don't think person A, if he has 3 times more money than person B, is necessarily the only qualifying
Success
parameter for success.
Yeah.
I think that has to change.
I don't think that's a metric for success, but I'm saying for someone in high school or in college, that would, especially if we're looking at tier 2 and 3, that is plays into a very large factor of what their day-to-day life is. So it's easier to say, that, start a business, but is that realistically something that they would
Everybody
opt to do?
Yeah, of course. But like if you guys could change to this point on Gen Z and next generation, if you guys could change something about education, right? Like what would you change?
Gosh, I grew up and I still do and I will always have learning disabilities. But
do you mind elaborating on that?
So I have learning disabilities. A lot of people get very confused by this term. I grew up being bullied for it, actually. It was a primary cause for why people used to harass me in school and in college, more in college, actually, which is a very funny observation to have had. So it could be dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia. I have dyscalculia, which is an arithmetic disability. Many people have it. They spend their whole lives not knowing that they have it. But my experience has been that everybody's learning capacity is different, which is why when you brought up how your nephew doesn't have exams till the 10th grade, that's fascinating to me and absolutely wonderful. If I ever have a child, I would want my child to learn that way, because we're inculcating the very thing that is polluting society and has polluted society for such a long time that I'm just like, if we're doing this from when a child is 2 years old, they're giving exams from when they're like 3 and 4 years old. Why? Everyone's IQ, EQ is so different. Someone might take longer to learn something. Someone might just never learn something that we're expected to learn at such a young age. And that's been my personal experience. And I've noticed it with even my mom, for example. She struggles with the same stuff that I struggled in school. But at that time, this conversation also of having learning disabilities, people call it all sorts of crazy things in schools and colleges because we don't understand it, because we don't talk about it. So if there's something in education I could change, it is the fact that it's like the Montessori system, right? Yeah. That's great. Why don't more children go and why don't more parents inculcate that system with learning? There's so much more that we can do and change in our education system. Soft skills, life skills, first aid, basic banking, understanding of how to communicate in groups better. We're all going to work at some stage in life, whether that's as a homemaker. We're all part of interpersonal relationships throughout our lives, and we're not taught that. We're taught competition, especially as women. And I just don't understand these concepts. And this is something that begins in school. And it, of course, does begin at home as well. But if we just understood how to adapt and how to change, God, I really hope I don't get into trouble for saying all of this, but there are so many different ways to learn. And I feel like sometimes in the West, they've understood that. And I know that because I know a lot of educators in the West. My sister is one of them. And it's just a very interesting way to learn. And kids grow up happier. There's a lot less. The rate of depression in kids today and mental health, the conversation that we can have on this will be for days. But I mean, it's very upsetting because we're not open to the change in how we can change education. And it starts at 2 and 3 years old. It doesn't start. By the time you're 9, most of your habits are set. So if we're starting this at 2 and 3, I mean, that's really scary and that's really sad. And having gone through this in my own experience, I just feel like there's much we can do to change.
Most of the people that are trying to tackle education are starting at like 10th grade and then whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like undergrad, solving for entrance exams and all that. Whereas there's probably some very large opportunity.
But KV, the thing is, with the evolution of tech as quickly as it's happening, I think the upside of being able to regurgitate information that you have had to memorize by reading it 100 times, I think the incremental value of that is dropping very quickly.
Hi, I'm Nikhil Kamath. I'd love to know what you thought of the episode. Comment, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.